You ever feel like you're just drowning in information? Yeah, me too. We all are. But what if I told you we could not only survive that flood, but actually harness its power? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Let's dive into the incredible world of big data and the cloud to see how we're taming this digital deluge.
Just take a look at this for a second. This isn't what happens in a year or a month or even a day. This is what's happening online every single minute. I mean, the scale is just mind-blowing. Forget the hundreds of thousands of photos on Facebook for a sec. Look at YouTube. 500 hours of video are uploaded every 60 seconds. That is a truly unbelievable amount of data being created. All the time, nonstop.
And this chart? It shows you exactly where that explosion is coming from. See that little green slice at the bottom? That's what we call structured data. You know, the neat and tidy stuff that fits perfectly into a spreadsheet, like sales numbers. But that massive blue wave just rocketing upwards, that's unstructured data. We're talking videos, emails, social media posts, you name it. It's basically a data tsunami, and our old tools, well, they just can't keep up.
And that brings us right to the core definition. So, what is big data really? Simply put, it's the point where our data gets so massive and so messy that our traditional software just can't handle it. It basically throws its hands up and says, nope, I'm out. So yeah, it's not just some trendy buzzword, it's a real fundamental breaking point in technology.
Okay, so if it's such a massive challenge, how do we even start to get our heads around it? Well, luckily, we can break it all down using a really simple but powerful toolkit known as the 5 V's. Let's check it out.
And here they are. You've got volume, which is the sheer size of it all, velocity, the incredible speed it's being created, variety, all the different shapes and sizes it comes in, veracity, which is all about whether you can trust it, and finally, value, which is, the whole point, finding the useful stuff inside. These aren't just words to memorize. They're the 5 key dimensions of the problem we're trying to solve.
Let's really zero in on variety for a moment, because honestly, it's one of the biggest headaches. Over on the left, you've got that neat, orderly, structured data, super easy for a computer to read. But on the right, well, that's the Wild West. Images, audio files, legal documents, something like 80% of all data is unstructured. So how on earth do you analyze a picture, a contract, and a customer service call all at the same time?
And what about veracity, the trustworthiness of our data? Well, the stakes here couldn't be higher. Get this. Poor data quality, we're talking inconsistencies, mistakes, just plain bad info, costs the U.S. economy an estimated $3.1 trillion a year. No, that's not a typo. Trillion with a T. This isn't some abstract academic issue. It has absolutely massive real-world consequences.
So that leads us to the crucial question, right? How in the world do we build something that can actually handle this immense scale and all this complexity? What's the solution here?
And that's where the hero of our story makes its grand entrance. The one technology that makes taming this digital deluge possible for just about everyone? The cloud. You see, before the cloud came along, trying to do big data in-house was just a total nightmare. It was incredibly difficult. You needed these super rare, expensive experts. It was wildly expensive. You had to buy tons of servers. And the worst part? You had to build your system for your busiest day of the year, which means, most of the time, all that pricey gear was just sitting there, collecting dust and wasting money.
Cloud computing just flips that entire model on its head. Think about it like electricity in your house. You don't build your own power plant, right? Of course not. You just plug into the grid and pay for what you use. The cloud does the exact same thing for computing power. It's IT on demand over the internet, and you only pay for what you actually need. This is the innovation that truly opened up big data for companies of all sizes.
And this diagram here, yeah, it looks a little complicated, but it shows the power of the cloud in action. Think of it like a giant factory. All that raw data from all those different sources goes in one end. The cloud provides all the machinery, the whole pipeline, to process it, analyze it, and even use it to train AI models. It handles the entire journey for you, turning messy data into priceless insights.
But look, just getting the data into the cloud is only step one. The real magic, the entire reason we do any of this, is to turn all that raw data into smarter, faster decisions. So let's see how that part works.
So this is the official 9-stage big data analytics lifecycle. And yeah, it looks pretty complicated, doesn't it? I mean, from evaluating the business case all the way to actually using the results.
It's thorough for sure, but maybe a little overwhelming.
But in reality, it all just boils down to these 4 key steps. First, you acquire and filter the data, get rid of all the junk. Second, you process and cleanse it to make it actually usable. Third, you analyze and mine it, looking for those hidden patterns. And finally, you visualize the findings so you can actually act on them. That's pretty much the whole game right there.
And this right here is the end goal in action. This is what we call business intelligence, or BI. Data gets pulled from all over the business into a data warehouse in the cloud. It gets analyzed, and then the results pop up in these clean, easy-to-understand dashboards. This is literally how raw data becomes a tool that helps people see what's going on and make much better decisions.
Okay, so we have all this data and all this power, and it's all sitting in the cloud. This, of course, leads to some really, really important questions about responsibility and control and who's really in charge.
Let me just ask you this directly. If you put your company's most sensitive data onto a cloud server, who is ultimately responsible for keeping it safe? Is it you, or is it the cloud company? Well, the answer is it's a team effort. This is called the shared responsibility model. The cloud provider, think Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they're responsible for the security of the cloud. That's the physical data centers, the hardware, the core network. But you are always 100% responsible for security in the cloud. That means your data, your apps, and controlling who has access to them. It's a critical distinction you've got to understand.
And this opens up a whole can of worms when it comes to ethical challenges we're all trying to figure out. How do we protect people's privacy? Who actually owns the data? And who's accountable when something goes wrong? How do we make sure our own biases don't get accidentally coded into the analytics? These are some of the biggest questions of our time.
Ultimately, it just comes down to this classic quote, which is so incredibly true here. The power that big data and the cloud give us is just unprecedented. And that means the need for careful management, ethical thinking, and a deep sense of responsibility is more important than it has ever been.
So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. We've built this incredible engine for understanding the world in ways we never ever thought possible. With all of this data and all of this power right at our fingertips, maybe the most important question we should be asking ourselves isn't what can we do with it, but what should we do with it?